Hey everybody, good morning. This is Paul Wellborn, and this is Faith Baptist Church Sunday School. It is chilly outside this morning. It is a fall morning, not quite fall officially, but it is chilly. And I know some of the forecast lows this week are going to be in the 40s. So I know you always get to that point where you're like, should I cut the heat on or not? You know, how long can I make it stretch before I cut the heat on in the house? So anyway, I'll see how long I can hold out. But this morning, we're going to be looking at one of the commandments, one of the 10 commandments, and it's honor your mother and your father. And we have multiple memories of time with parents, and I can think of my dad passed away in 2012. And growing up, I did a lot with my dad. I spent a lot of time with him. And he, not only my dad, but my grandfather. And so I had two role models as far as male role models in my life, my dad and my grandfather, that I spent a lot of time with, but my dad especially. And I'm an only child, and I remember whenever I was especially 8 and 9 years old, but I was around 9 years old, and he and I went to Forsyth Medical Center to visit a church member. And it was normal for me to go to the hospital with him. I think that's why I enjoy, it sounds funny, I don't mind going to hospitals. I've done it all my life. But so I went with him at Forsyth Medical Center, and there was a Channel 12 WXII truck out there filming the front of the hospital. And so Dad made sure, I was like, let's get on TV. And so Dad made sure we drove in front of the camera, and I waved real big, and gosh, this was in the mid 80s, so it was before we had a VCR, and so we recorded the 6 o'clock news, and sure enough, you can see our little car and me in the window waving as a kid, and that was just fun. And anyway, just so many memories with Dad as that I could think of as a kid, as a teenager, and as an adult. And we had these memories. I think especially I remember Shannon Hamilton in prayer this week after losing her mom. I think about these relationships we have with parents, and how whenever you love somebody very closely and then you lose them, it's hard. And we have that hope of heaven. I had that hope of seeing my dad one day, and I know Shannon has that hope of seeing her mom. But still, we miss them. But this lesson is on the commandment of honoring your mother and father, and how can you honor your mother and father in life, and also, it's windy out here, and also after they've gone to heaven. So let's look at Exodus 20, verse 12. Honor your father and your mother, so that you may have a long life in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. And what are some ways we show honor to our parents? How do we honor their name in our actions? And there's ways we can do it. We can do it emotionally. We can, whenever we talk about our parents to other people, we can lift them up, build them up. And I know there's times whenever our parents aggravate us, or we may have differing opinions or whatever. It's funny, my mom and I are so much alike, and we can kind of complete each other's sentences and thoughts because we're kind of thinking the same thing. And so sometimes we or whatever, and anyway, it's funny, and gosh, my mom and I are so close, and but you think about that whenever you do talk about, like if I talk about my mom, I want to lift her up. I mean, she's the best mom ever, I'm so fortunate. And so we can verbally honor our parents, and also financially, we are kind of in a middle generation, those of us who are in our mid-40s, and we have teenagers, and then we have parents that are in their late 60s or early 70s on up to late 70s. And so we're kind of that middle generation. And so how do we help them out, or how do we do things? And it's fun to give back to our parents. It's fun to do things for our parents now and to say, hey, I'll buy that, or let me take care of that. It truly is a blessing. And so those are some ways we can honor our parents, either emotionally, verbally, or financially. We can help out with our parents. Let's look at an Old Testament story that really hits home, and this is a dysfunctional family. It's King David, multiple wives, multiple kids, and they were all vying for power. 2 Samuel 15, verses 7 through 12. When 4 years had passed, Absalom said to his dad, "Please let me go to Hebron to fulfill the vow I made to the Lord. For your servant made a vow when I lived in Geshur of Aram." His mom was from Geshur. "If the Lord really brings me back to Jerusalem, I will worship the Lord in Hebron. Go in peace." And the king said to him. So he went to Hebron. Absalom sent agents throughout the tribes of Israel, and this message: "When you hear the sound of the ram's horn, you are to say, 'Absalom has become king in Hebron.'" 200 men from Jerusalem went with Absalom, and they had been invited and were going innocently, for they did not know the whole situation. While he was offering sacrifices, Absalom sent for David's advisor, Ahithophel, the Gilonite from the city of Gilo. So the conspiracy grew strong, and the people that were supporting Absalom continued to increase. So you had the story of Absalom, who was one of David's most fit sons. He was a mighty warrior. It even mentions that he had tons of hair. His hair would grow like a foot in a year, and but basically there was this huge dysfunctional family situation where he had a sister, Tamar, that was assaulted by another half brother, Amnon. And so you have Absalom that had ambushed Amnon and basically killed one of David's other sons, and had in vengeance. And if you know the whole story, you're kind of like, yeah, he took care of Amnon. Amnon was a bad person, but Absalom, after he did this, then he felt power, and so he secretly went to one of the other parts of Israel to overthrow his dad. And the whole time his dad was basically not engaged with his kids, was basically busy with his work, and just gave blessings to Absalom, saying, "Sure, you can go wherever." And the whole time Absalom was trying to overthrow King David. And you think about this: what are some ways that our culture now dishonors parents? Basically, especially if they're older, it's more of, okay, you can put them on the shelf, they're kind of done, and now it's time for you to do your thing and take care of whatever you want to do. And no matter what age of our parents, we should honor them. And there's some tough situations too where you haven't had the best parents in the world. I know of many situations where there's not many dads involved in the kids' lives. And so, what role models are there with the fathers? And the mothers are really doing a great job taking care of the kids. And the kids, whenever they get older, are really going to think about the sacrifices that their moms made for them. And, honor their mothers and try to be there and try to be the fathers that maybe their fathers weren't. But Absalom, let's look in 2 Samuel 15, verses 13 through 14. When an informer came to David and reported the hearts of the men in Israel were with Absalom, David said to all the servants with him in Jerusalem, "Get up. We have to flee, or we will not escape Absalom. Leave quickly, or he will overtake us quickly. Heap disaster on us. Strike the city with the edge of the sword." And how does your desire to honor your parents impact your decisions? I mean, think about Absalom. And whom do you know that models the parent-child relationship in a way that honors God? Think of somebody specifically that has that parent-child relationship that truly honors God. But Absalom, he went on to basically chase David. And if you know the story of David, he had ran from Solomon whenever he was younger. And King Solomon had been after David, and so David had been on the run. And so then, after Solomon's death at the Philistines, David was king for many years and had peace, and now he's back on the run. And ultimately, Absalom, he died. He got killed. One of David's generals found Absalom. He had all that hair. He basically got caught up in a tree and couldn't escape, and so he was immobile. And David's general said, "Let's get him. Let's kill him." And David was furious. He didn't want his son to get killed. And so, ultimately, he had lost two sons, Amnon and Absalom. And all this really stems back from David and how he had done, and he'd been disengaged from his kids. But a lot of it was on Absalom as far as how he could react and what he could say. A lot of times people could say, well, I had a bad relationship with my parents, and so I'm this way. Or, my mother and father, you hear alcoholism or things like that, and folks say, well, that's going to pass on to me. And genetically, that's something we do battle. But people have choices. And Absalom, in this case, had a choice. We have a choice. And I'm speaking to you out there that has parents that are still alive. What can we do this week to honor your parents? Does somebody mow their yard? It's getting to the end of the year. Can you go out and mow their yard and take care of that for them? Or go put some fuel in their car for them? Or just check on them? I don't know. Mike Sprayberry, the guy that we see on the videos from North Carolina that's over disaster relief, he always talks about reach out to loved ones. They'll appreciate it. If you have parents that are far away or distant that are not nearby, reach out to them. They'll appreciate it. We get so busy with our lives. I mean, goodness, it's near middle September. How did they get middle September? It seems like it's just March and then all of a sudden September. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great week. Enjoy the fall weather. This is one of the commandments. Honor your mother and your father. Thanks.